So, you want to bear a dragon, or do you? Welcome back to Red River Exotics. This is our first episode in a series called The Pros and Cons. We are going over a bunch of different species of reptiles that are pretty common. All these animals, all these species, we actually personally own. A few of them we actually do breed. The first one is Gomia bearded dragons, which was what we are known for between the bearded dragons and our leopard gecko. So I figured this would be a good start. And here we have Miss Norbert. She is our female breeder. She is our main mama. She is not wanting to brewmate right now, so excuse me. She is joining us to go over the pros and cons of having her. Our first biggest thing for pros and cons are personality. Not every animal has the personality that is going to be right for every owner. This is going to be based on what you want in an animal. And even in the species of bearded dragons, every dragon I have a very different personality. But for the most part, bearded dragons are your family-friendly animal. They are gonna hang out with you for the most part. The biggest thing is socializing them. If you're socializing your animals from babies, you're gonna have ones like this. She will just hang out with me. She's gone to reptile expos with me, and she just she hangs out. She likes to love on your neck and shoulder, but she doesn't have that bearded dragon attitude that some people like, and you see that a lot with your males. And that's going to be a big thing with the personalities, is male versus female. The males are definitely going to have that typical black beard and the head bobbing. That is what people associate the bearded dragons with. And if that's what you want, then you can go to male. But you got to be mindful that sometimes, for instance, Big Papa back there who's staring at me, he kind of can be a turd. So it all depends on the animal. But the more you handle them, the better off they are. And talk to the breeder. Ask them about the personalities of their parents. So like Norbert here, she's very calm. She's laid back and has given me no issues. Where Fox back there, like I said, he can give me an attitude. Once he's out of the tank, he's fine. But he has that typical male attitude. One thing with these guys compared to other species, they're not as fragile. They're not as fragile as like a leopard gecko or crested gecko. But they're still a small animal and they can get hurt, but they are less fragile. They will not drop their tail. As you see, they do have nails, which needs to be cut. But overall, these guys are very good for families. However, they're not your typical beginner animal. I will stress that. People say bearded dragons are beginner animals. They're not beginner animals. There's a lot of things that go along with it to ensure that these guys are healthy and happy. One thing with these bearded dragons, it can be a pro, it can be a con, depending on what you want. So these guys' lifespan can be 10 to 14, 15 years. It's not something that you're just gonna pick up and have for a couple of years and then you move on. It's not like a parrot or a tortoise who can live for a lot of years. Norbert, where are you going? But it's not going to be like your goldfish that may pass within a year. These guys have a good lifespan, and you need to have everything together before you purchase it, because it's a part of the family. So that's one thing to consider. It's both a pro, because you're going to put a lot of money into this. You're going to have it for a long time, so that is a pro. That you're not going to be spending all this money for something that's going to last a year or two. So, but just be cautious. If you're getting this for your child that is 10, 14 years old, you're going to be most likely taking care of this animal when they go away to college or move out. So just be mindful of that. So setup. This is so setup. Setup is the next section that I would like to talk about. this is kind of a con in some of my people's eyes. It will take up a space. If you see back here, this is Fox. Norbert also has one down here. Adults, bearded dragons really should be in a 4 foot by 2 foot by 2 foot enclosures. Are your typical 120 gallon tank. Adolescents, they can be in there. They're your 40 gallon ones for a period, but once they hit adulthood, they really need that space. It's the ground space that they need. They do move around. They will climb a little, but they're not the greatest climbers. They will climb their logs, but like I said, they're not arboreal. They don't run up trees or anything like that like some lizards do. This setup will be more expensive than your dragon, and you want to put more money into the enclosure as well. You're gonna have this animal for a while. Might as well put the money into the enclosure so it stays with him the whole time. So the tank, front opening 4 foot tank, will be between like 200 to 400, if not more. You can find good deals on Facebook Marketplace, so that's an option. Just keep, if you are patient, you can come up with one that's less expensive. The next cost will be your heat bulbs. You need your good heat bulbs for the basking. That's aids in them in digestion, which is a care guide thing. I will put on a video down the road for that. The next thing is the UVB lighting, which is essential. If they do not have proper UVB lighting, they will not be able to synthesize vitamin D, which aids in calcium absorption. These guys are desert species, and they do bask in the light, so they do not make the vitamin D. Norbert, where are you going, honey? Probably seeing Fox. They do not absorb the vitamin D like some of your Norbert. Hi, honey. Like your more nighttime animals. These will be kind of pricey. You kind of the heat lamp, you can get generic stuff. That's not your cost. Fixture itself will be, $15-$30. And then the bulb between $7 and $15. So that's not too expensive. What's going to be expensive is UVB lighting, which you might as well go for the higher price stuff. You're going to want a desert species lamp, and you want the linear ones. You don't want the coil lights. 12%, 14%. So the desert lighting, like I said, the T5s, T8s, T5s are a little bit better. They're gonna emit the UV lighting a lot better. So this is a must. You can't get away with that, or the heat lamp. That is something you need to have in order to have a healthy dragon. These UVB lights, a lot of the fixtures you get will come with a bulb, and they can range from $26 to $100, $120. So when you do change your bulbs, the bulbs themselves will only cost about $20 to $40, and usually, depending on the brand, it's anywhere from 6 months to a year. Decor is another one, and this one is hard to judge what it's going to be cost due to the fact that there's such a variety in decor. You can go more all natural, you can go more cutesy. I don't even know how to explain it. So a lot of people, they put little couches and hammocks and stuff like that. That all is up to you, but between 50 to 100, if not more. So the decor, it all depends on what you want, and that's a preference thing. Like I said, as long as you have a couple hides for them to hide in and their area to bask under the heat bulb. So in grand total, you're looking at a startup cost just for the enclosure between $400 and $600. So it's something not to jump into to do it correctly. You really need to plan this out because it is a big expense upfront cost. After that, it's not as bad. You got your costs of your bugs and your greens, and there is a slight increase in your electric bill because you are having that high heat. Norbert, where are you going, honey? Do you see your son down there? Probably. So as far as costs of dragons, this is a very, very big range. So there's a lot of pros and cons of this because you can get your normal type dragon at a pretty inexpensive cost, $50, $75, up towards the more fancy dragons. I've seen them for well over $1,000. And there's a lot of different mores, a lot of different colors, which is what's cool about the Bearded Dragon, which is, in my eyes, that's a pro. You know, there is so many choices you can get. One thing that I will say, make sure you're buying from an ethical breeder. There are a lot of breeders out there that are basically, they're warehouse breeders. You know, they breed just to get the numbers out so they can sell them cheap. You want to know your breeder. You want to talk to your breeder, you know, get their, just learn more about them so that you know you're getting your dragon from an ethical breeder. Like us at Red River, we don't sell our babies until they're about 2 months old. They have to be a certain weight. They have to be eating. They have to be shedding properly. They have to be very active. The next subject for pros and cons would be care. You know, you now have your setup. You spent, you got that all set up for your dragon. You now have your dragon at home. Pros and cons of care. Dragons are a daily care. They're not like a snake where you can feed it once a week, once every couple of weeks, depending on the species. They're daily maintenance. They, as babies, 2, sometimes 3 times a day. I feed mine twice a day, and they are very healthy and chunky. So as babies, you know, they're getting bugs twice a day, and greens once a day. And then as adults, they get greens or salads every day and bugs a couple times a week. Ow! All right. So the care. So you're not only feeding your animal daily, you're also, you know, picking out their poops daily. Their poops they can smell. So that is a con. They poop pretty much anywhere they want. I've had people tell me that they've been able to toilet their baby dragons. I don't know how they got them potty trained. Mine do not. But that is a con. So care, you're with them daily. So this does come a issue with if you want to go away on vacation, you know, you're gonna have to have somebody to watch your dragon. So you're gonna have to have somebody that you trust that knows what they're doing, just in case something happens. As far as food, I know some people are squirmish about bugs or live insects. This is kind of a must. This is a must. It's not kind of a must. This is a must for dragons. They will get their greens or vegetables and occasional fruits daily. Bugs, as babies, they're, like I said, twice a day, then once a day, and then every other day or a couple times a week as adults. Crickets, dubia roaches, occasional superworm, occasional hornworm, black soldier fly larva. My dragons don't like it, but that is an option. So live insects are the best. People do feed them the can or the freeze dried. That is, you know, that's something I use just in case. Like if there's a storm, my bugs die on transit. There's that issue. There's also the Repashy has a berry pie. I will feed them that. They're not, a lot of the babies are really not keen into it. I just have a few dragons that will actually eat it, and I usually have to hand feed it to them because it's not moving. Mine are kind of spoiled because they get their live bugs, but the live bugs are more nutritious for these guys, and it gets them moving. Norba doesn't want to sit still anymore. Not really a pro or con. I guess it's more of a care guide thing, but then you also have to do the calcium and the vitamin powder. So there's a lot of upkeep on these guys. It's in the beginning, I would say it's a lot of upkeep in the beginning because you don't know what you're doing when you're first time bearded dragon. Everybody has made mistakes, myself included. You know, when you don't know what you're doing, that's, you know, you learn by your mistakes. So the best thing is try to learn as much as possible before you get these guys. You know, there's a lot of pluses with these guys. There's a reason why they're the top species of reptiles. Everybody knows what a bearded dragon is, but there's a lot of work. There's a lot of costs associated with it in the beginning, but how can you not love that face? She's a little dirty right now. She just got out of brumation, and she likes to dig. Ooh, why don't you go over here? All right. So in conclusion, you know, bearded dragons, there's a reason why they are like the top species reptile in the reptile world. You know, they are an awesome animal. I know I've said a lot of cons for these guys. It's just a lot of things you got to keep in mind. You know, are you somebody that's going to be vacationing all the time? Then if so, then this is not the right animal for you. But if you want something that has personality that you can interact with, these guys are definitely the ones to go with. They have so much personality. And if you get one from a reputable breeder that has already socialized them already before you get them, then you're already ahead of the game. Norbert, you got me. And as you see, you know, she has never tried to bite me. I mean, it doesn't mean that she, you know, bearded dragons won't bite. Anything that has a mouth will bite. But, you know, for the most part, these guys are, you know, they've been in the States for so long and bred in captivity for so long. They're already kind of socialized. Which I'll go over that with another species. I have a couple other species that we'll discuss that are not as sociable as these guys that need a lot more socialization. Typically the bearded dragons, they don't need much time and they are very handleable. Hopefully this helps you figure out if the bearded dragon is the right animal for you. Like I said, there's a lot of pros and cons to these guys along with anything that you get. But all that matters is this the right species for you? There is no right or wrong answer. It's just what is the best fit. And for us, I love my dragons. There's a reason why I breed my dragons. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave a message. And I will be moving on to leopard geckos next for the pros and cons videos.